Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So if you saw the last video that I posted, it was all about seedling maintenance. And today I am back at it. So this video is seedling maintenance part 2. There were a few things that I just didn't get done last week when I was doing all of that. So I am revisiting all of my seed trays today and doing the things that I still wanted to do. So I'm going to share a few different tasks with you and also give you a couple updates because if you remember right, I used my Espoma indoor organic fertilizer. I left for a few days and went to a photography convention. I came back and I think the plants changed a lot. I feel like they grew so much after this fertilizer. It just really gave them a boost. So I want to show you how some of them are looking. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dive into this tray of Snapdragons. So I have two different varieties of Snapdragons. These few rows are the Maryland Shell Pink, and then from here on over is the Purple Twist. Now, starting to look at these, I can see I actually have two seedlings that are not even Snapdragons. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip those and get them out of the tray because I don't even want those in there. But you'll notice in the middle of my tray here, I have some spaces. Either I didn't sow those cell trays at all. When I watered them in, it covered the seed and they didn't germinate. Or just those cells, I don't know, were poor germination, but everything else looks really good. So I want to fill those cells. So I'm going to be using my dibber tool, and we're going to take some of these cells apart that have multiple Snapdragons, and I'm going to transplant them into the cells that are empty. That way I have a nice full tray. Then we're going to go through the other cells that still have multiple Snapdragons, thin them out so I just have 2 Snapdragons per cell. Now you might be thinking, well, why are you leaving 2? Why aren't you just doing 1? Well, Snapdragons are one of those plants that do well if you have a couple plants per cell. In fact, if you order plugs from companies such as Farmer Bailey, a lot of times you will get 2 plants per cell. So this year, and I did some last year, I'm putting 2 Snapdragons together and they grow just fine. So the first thing we're going to do is take out a couple of these cells, break them apart, and transplant them. I will zoom in a little bit when I do this, and then we're going to go through and thin them. So it looks like I only have 3 empty cells of the Shell Pink, but most of them are the Purple Twist. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take my dibber and I'm going to go in. And I'll zoom in so you guys can see this too, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a really nice big hole in the middle of that cell. So when I get my little plant out, I can easily just drop it in there. And I think the ones that I'm going to try breaking apart are going to be the bigger ones. Some of the smaller ones I'm just going to simply thin out. But these bigger ones are going to be easy to break apart. Now here's my plug, looking really good. There's actually white roots hanging off of it. I'm just going to take it apart. There we go. So there's 2 Snapdragons still in here. So I'm going to put that back in the cell that it came out of. And I'm going to have to get a little bit of soil to kind of refill that up. But here is the other half. There's 2 Snapdragons here. So I'm going to use my dibber. Maybe I'll clean a little bit of soil off of that. There we go. And I'm just going to put it down in to that hole I made and pack it in. All right, there we go. I'm going to move the camera closer so that you guys can see a little better. All right, so you can see these are all of the empty cells that I have, and I'm just going to take my dibber. And this soil is nice and moist, by the way. I find that the seedlings break apart much better when the soil is moist versus dry. So I'm just going in and making some holes. So here's a cell that has 4 Snapdragons. Well, I don't need 4 in a cell. Oops. All right, so there's what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break it apart so that I can put 2 in each. All right, so I'm going to put this back in the hole where it came from. Again, we'll be adding more soil to that one. And here's the one that's going to go into one of the empty cells. So I've made a nice big hole there, and I'm just going to use my dibber to push the roots down in, cover it up. And then that one has two Snapdragons. Here's another one. This one has 4. Actually, this one's on its own. So I'm going to break that one apart, and then put this one down in. There we go. I'm going to end up breaking this apart a couple times. Okay, so this is going to go back down where it came from. And this one, put in here. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and finish this tray, and then we will get any others thin that we need to. Okay, so as you can see, my whole tray is now full, and actually I only have a couple of cells that have more than 2 Snapdragons in them, and one of them is this one right up here. This actually has 3, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the one out that is smaller. These 2 are stronger, and this is a weaker one. I'm going to just take my scissors and clip him out, and then that's going to be filled. There's just another one over here. And, oh, right here. This has just a tiny one. There we go. Okay, now I have just 1 or 2 Snapdragons per cell, and I'm going to go ahead and just go through and mist all of these cells in. This has been bottom watered in the last day or so, but since I went through and transplanted some, I just want to make sure that the soil is nice and settled on the top, especially in those cells that I transplanted. I actually missed one. This one still has 3, so I'm going to get rid of the little guy. Okay, so this tray of Snapdragons is ready to go back under the grow lights, and I'm really happy to have this done because now these can just grow on and get as big as they want to. These are ones that go outside in ground, but I want to show you this tray of Snapdragons. This is a tray of Hoop House Snapdragons, one of the trays that I fertilized last week. Are these not looking super lush and tall or what? Holy cow! This is a perfect looking tray of Snapdragons, and I cannot tell you how happy I am to have these looking good. I have 2 other trays under the grow lights that look just like this. These are going to be definitely ready to plant in the hoop house when I do that, probably next month. So I still have a few smaller trays of Snapdragons that I need to do the same transplanting thing to. But for this video, I want to move on and show you the next thing that I'm doing today. All right, so the next thing that I'm working on is potting up my Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. Now, these are how the plants currently look. While I was gone for convention, they got dried out a little bit, so some of the leaves are a little crispy, mostly the bottom leaves, but if I pull out the actual plant, it has solid white roots all the way to the bottom, so I know that they're going to be just fine. What I'll do is I'll just pick off those bottom leaves. These are going to get potted up into these 4-inch pots so that they can grow on and have much more space to grow before I plant them outside. These will not get planted out with my early hardy annuals. These will get planted out in May sometime, so they still have over a month, maybe 6 weeks that they need to grow on. And I want them to be as big of plants as possible when I pot them out or plant them out. So I want to pot them up so that they have room to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some potting soil, fill these containers up, and we're going to pot them up. And then these are actually going to sit in a windowsill. I did that last year and they worked just fine. and that's where they're going to live until they get put outside. All right, these plants are transplanted and look so much happier in these pots. I ended up doing 12. I picked the 12 best ones, and honestly, they're all looking really good. I watered them in, but I did not give them any fertilizer because they just had fertilizer the end of last week. So maybe in another week or so, I'll give them another dose of fertilizer. But for now, these are gonna go on the windowsill, and I think they're gonna start growing and be much happier in these potted up containers. All right, so the next thing I need to do today is pot up my dahlia cuttings, and I have shown you guys these a couple different times, but these are the cuttings that I took off the dahlia tubers that I started early, and all but one of them is looking really good. I had one that started off looking good, but it just never ended up developing roots. It was a variety called brown sugar. I do have quite a few of those tubers, and so if I would lose one, that was a good one to lose. But a lot of them are looking really good. In fact, here is Diva. Look at those big white roots coming out of Diva. These are really ready to be potted up. They probably were a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. I'm just going to use some 4-inch pots, fill them with a regular potting soil, and pot these up and put them in the windowsill. I always save my 4-inch pots from year to year after I buy the annual bedding plants at my local garden centers because they come in such great handy, especially for products like this. And if you saw one of my videos a couple months ago, I started a bunch of bedding plants such as petunias and coleus from seed. And those, my petunias, gosh, are almost to that point where they're going to be potted up into these 4-inch pots as well and go live in my greenhouse. And so it's really important to me to have a lot of these on hand because I can use them for all my projects. Now, you can see some hard water stains on these. I don't go through and sterilize anything. I honestly have never had a problem. I kind of hose them out at the end of the season, but honestly, I just go ahead and reuse them. So what I'm going to do again is fill these up with a regular potting soil. Each of my cuttings is tagged, and so I want to make sure to put the tag right into that pot because I want to know exactly which dahlia tuber that I am potting up. This one, again, is Diva. I'm going to make a little well in the soil and put that plug right down in there, and then make sure it is all covered with soil. And I will link this down below, but I rooted these in Root Riot. Holy moly, that one is out of control. That is Bracken Palomino. This cutting is clearly loving life. I use the Root Riot plugs to root these. I will link them down below. They are absolutely amazing. So is easy. They come in a resealable bag, so you can use them from year to year. I bought these over a year ago and they were still moist in the bag. They last. They're made of a sphagnum moss, I think. They're awesome. If you need to root anything, get the Root Riot. I did do a little experiment. Some of these I used a rooting hormone and some of them I did not. I got the same results with everything. So I don't know if that was entirely necessary, but it definitely didn't hurt. Okay, these are all potted up. They look so good. Potting up just really helps things. And you saw some of the roots on these. They're really going to be able to spread out now. I am going to water these in, and I am going to give them a half dose of fertilizer just to get going. And again, I showed you I use the Espoma indoor. Now, I prefer to use Espoma Grow. I will link it down below. This is just what I had on hand, and I have some of the Grow ordered. I just wasn't able to find it local when I needed it. So I'm using the indoor for now, but it's fine. It will do just the same thing. It's more made for houseplants though. So I'm just going to give these a really good drink. These also are going to just set in my windowsill, which is an east-facing window. And these are going to grow on and be super happy and give me some really nice extra dahlia plants this season. One of the good things about taking cuttings, it's a really easy way to multiply your stock of dahlias. I did a video when I did this, but it's super easy, and these will also produce tubers this year, which also multiplies your dahlia stock. All right, so I'm gonna put this in the windowsill, and then the last thing we are gonna do is take a look at the grow shelves, and I need to cover any of the seed containers of the soil blocks that I started last week that are starting to sprout and that can have that humidity dome taken off. All right, so you probably can't totally see my face, but this is one of the shelves where you can see I have a bunch of these containers of soil blocks started, and they have quite a bit of moisture on top, but it's really easy to tap and see if I have anything green going on in there. I'm gonna just move these out of the way. This is straw flower that definitely needs to be potted up. And this is the Chinese forget-me-not. It's looking a little bit leggy. This was started in total darkness, so some of these really started growing before I had full germination, and so they'll be just fine. I may want to pot some of these up, but for now they're just fine. So this is Gomphrena, and I have some really good germination in here. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off of this one. And if some of these are dry, I will go ahead and mist it, but this looks plenty soggy. Here's another, oh, this is Craspedia. I started more Craspedia because my first round totally bombed. I think it's because I put it on a heat mat again. Oh yeah, almost total germination. That looks great. All right, this one. Oh, this is another tray of Craspedia. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of it. Oh yeah. Look at that. Almost total germination. All right, this I can see green in. Yep. This is Blue Glitter Eryngium. Lots of nice green in there. This one has been here for a while. Dusty Miller. Oh yes. Few little sprouts in there. Gosh, not much germination, but we'll take it. What is this one? Sahara Rudbeckia. Oh yeah, lots of little guys in there. Those are probably hard to see. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna leave this covered just to see. That's only about 75% germinated. I wanna get as many as possible of this. So I'm just gonna leave that for a little bit longer. Here's Indian Summer Rudbeckia. Kind of the same, I'm not seeing a ton. I'm gonna leave that. Here's another Sahara Rudbeckia. We will leave that. Oh, this one looks like it's good to go. Oh, this is my White Glitter Eryngium. These are perennials in my area, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't need a ton of these plants. Then, all right, these are my Columbine, which take forever, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave those two covered. All right, this shelf also is looking really good. I have a few fungus gnats flying around, and so I went ahead and put out some of these. Let me set that aside or over here for now. This is Status looking really good. This is the Ageratum that I combined in the last video, looking okay. This is Feverfew, looking awesome. This is Saponaria, getting a little leggy, but looking okay. Here's another tray of Ageratum, looking really good. There's more Status back there. This is Straw flower, looking good, looking bad. This one's dry. I need to miss that one. We have more status. Here's some white dianthus. Some of these need watered. This needs watered. This is more ageratum. And then, oh, I showed you that already. Okay, so for the ones that need opening, this I can see a whole bunch of white, or white. I have white in my head from that other one. This I can see a ton of green. This is Magic Single Feverfew, one of my all-time favorites. Oh yeah, looking super good. This is another Magic Single Feverfew. These containers, by the way, are meal planning containers from Walmart. I have discovered them as the perfect little soil block containers. There's another Magic Single. I think I'll keep those two together. This I can see a ton of green. This is Coral Dianthus. Oh, these are getting leggy. These need to be opened up. That's looking good. And then here's a bicolor dianthus. Oh my gosh, barely any in there, so I'm going to leave that covered. All right, and then the ones that are dry, I will definitely get those watered. Also, here's a look at my Fama pincushion flowers. These still need potted up, but they're still looking okay. Okay, so that's going to do it for the seedling maintenance part 2 video. I need to go ahead and Mr. Water those soil block trays that were getting really dried out. And also some of those that were looking a little leggy, I think I'm going to go ahead and lower the lights and get the lights much closer to those because that will definitely help. If some of them don't snap out of that, I'll just end up potting them up. But I'm going to lower the lights first and see how they do. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I have a lot more projects coming up. Next week, I'm going to be starting a whole nother batch of seeds, and so I will make sure to do a video on that. And the next video you probably will see me in is prepping for Easter. I have a whole bunch of winter force tulips. I have Easter bouquets I'm selling. So I'm going to start working on those tomorrow to prep, and I will take you along for that. So anyway, stay tuned for that and a lot more. We'll see you soon.